Prelude to conflict, 1939 to 1940. World War II, the deadliest conflict in human history, began in 1939 with Germany's invasion of Poland. Adolf Hitler's aggressive expansionist policies, coupled with the failure of appeasement efforts by Britain and France, led to the outbreak of hostilities. The invasion of Poland prompted Britain and France to declare war on Germany, marking the start of the conflict. The early months of the war saw rapid German advances through Europe, including the conquest of Denmark, Norway, the Low Countries, and France. The German blitzkrieg tactics, characterized by fast-moving armored divisions supported by air power, proved highly effective, and by mid-1940, much of Western Europe was under Nazi control. Battle of Britain and Eastern Front, 1940 to 1941. In 1940, Hitler turned his attention to Britain, launching the Battle of Britain, an air campaign aimed at gaining air superiority over the English Channel and preparing for a possible invasion of Britain. Despite heavy bombing, the Royal Air Force managed to repel the German Luftwaffe, thwarting Hitler's plans for invasion. Meanwhile, in Eastern Europe, Germany forged a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union, allowing Hitler to focus on his Western ambitions. However, tensions between Germany and the Soviet Union simmered, eventually leading to Operation Barbarossa in June 1941, a massive invasion of the USSR. The Eastern Front quickly became a brutal theater of war, with millions of casualties on both sides. Pacific Theater and Pearl Harbor, 1941 to 1942. While Europe was engulfed in conflict, Japan sought to expand its empire in the Pacific. In December 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on the United States Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor, drawing the U.S. into the war. The Pacific Theater witnessed a series of intense battles, including the Battle of Midway, where the U.S. Navy dealt a significant blow to the Japanese fleet. The island-hopping campaign led by General Douglas MacArthur and Admiral Chester Nimitz gradually pushed back Japanese forces, reclaiming territory lost earlier in the war. The Pacific conflict was characterized by naval battles, amphibious assaults, and brutal jungle warfare. Turning points, 1942 to 1943. The tide of the war began to turn in favor of the Allies in 1942. In North Africa, British forces, led by General Bernard Montgomery, defeated Erwin Rommel's Afrika Korps at the Battle of El Alamein, marking a significant victory for the Allies. In the Soviet Union, the German advance was halted at the Battle of Stalingrad, where Soviet forces inflicted heavy losses on the Wehrmacht and turned the tide on the Eastern Front. The Battle of Stalingrad, one of the bloodiest in history, became a symbol of Soviet resistance and marked a crucial turning point in the war. Allied offensives and D-Day, 1944. In 1944, the Allies launched a series of offensives aimed at liberating Western Europe from German occupation. Operation Overlord, commonly known as D-Day, saw the largest amphibious invasion in history, with Allied forces landing on the beaches of Normandy on June 6, 1944. The successful invasion established a foothold in France and paved the way for the liberation of Europe. Meanwhile, Soviet forces launched a massive offensive on the Eastern Front, pushing German troops back towards Germany. Liberation of Europe and Pacific, 1944 to 1945. Following the success of D-Day, Allied forces liberated France, Belgium, and the Netherlands from German control. Paris was liberated in August 1944, and by the end of the year, the Allies had crossed the Rhine River into Germany. In the Pacific, the Allies continued their advance, capturing strategic islands and closing in on Japan. The Battle of Okinawa, one of the bloodiest in the Pacific Theater, saw heavy casualties on both sides but provided a crucial base for the planned invasion of Japan. Endgame and atomic bombs, 1945. As Allied forces closed in on Germany and Japan, the war entered its final stages. In April 1945, Soviet forces captured Berlin, and Hitler committed suicide in his bunker. Germany surrendered unconditionally on May 7, 1945, marking the end of the war in Europe. In the Pacific, the United States dropped atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945, leading to Japan's surrender on August 15, 1945. World War II, the most destructive conflict in history, came to an end, but its legacy would shape the course of the 20th century. Aftermath and legacy. The aftermath of World War II saw the emergence of the United States and the Soviet Union as superpowers, leading to the Cold War. The war also resulted in significant geopolitical changes, with the establishment of the United Nations and the division of Europe into Western and Eastern blocs. The Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews were systematically murdered by the Nazis, highlighted the horrors of genocide and led to the prosecution of war criminals at the Nuremberg trials. The war's impact on society, technology, and global politics was profound, shaping the modern world in ways that continue to resonate today.